to the Wednesday, November 8th edition of PFF Forecast. A big docket today. Is Arthur Smith the NFL's version of Elon Musk? We've power ranked both conferences. We've power ranked the NFL at large. It's now time to power rank white trash quarterbacks in the NFL. And we may talk some actual stuff around betting as well. No, we definitely will. SGP narratives, of course, a big injury roundup, and locks of the week. It will be a great show. Let's ride. T-Bag's last ride. I expected Brad to show up with some sort of incense burning, maybe a jersey to be worn. And all we ended up getting was, Matt Eberflus talking about how Justin Fields is not medically cleared, but also not accurate enough with the football yet to play. And that at some point, a doctor skilled in judging accuracy will determine when he can play, which is just overshadowing the fact that we get one more night of Tyson Bagent.
Yeah, he's doubtful. Justin Fields listed as doubtful, but then someone's like, so is he playing? And he was like, no, he's not playing. And they're like, wait, but why is he doubtful if he's not playing? And he was like, look, it's above your pay grade. It's all semantics. But anyway, we're getting some more T-Bag, probably the last ride. It looks like you get the mini bye for Chicago after this. The quarterbacks in this game combined for 7 turnovers last week. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful matchup tomorrow night.
So extraordinary. My take on that, by the way, was that if he was active, he would still back up Badger, which would be phenomenal.
If Badger against the defense that I think is 29th in EPA per play and is not going to have Brian Burns in this game, puts together a decent performance, there's going to be, the talk show radio. We were laughing pre-show about some of our favorite national syndications. If Bagent has a good primetime outing against one of the worst defenses in the league, there's going to be some hilarious hot takes coming out of the Chicago radio syndicate.
It would be incredible. Now, that defense is way worse against the run, right, than against the pass, I believe. But Bagent, a runner of the football, a great runner of the football. So Tyson Vic Bagent could be in the makings. Okay. We've lost all of the listeners that don't understand what the show is about. So now we can get going. Let's start with an injury roundup, a rather robust set of injuries for this week. Not surprising, although I feel like for the past few weeks, they've been rather moderate. This week, it's a complete and utter disaster. So Brad, we'll set a timer for 20 minutes and see if we can get through it.
Yeah, last week it's been moderate outside of 9 backup quarterbacks. We've already set a record this season for 10 rookies starting at quarterback in a season. That is an NFL record, and it's week 10. So start off with Thursday Night Football. We just talked about no Justin Fields, obviously. No Brian Burns for the Carolina Panthers. No C.J. Henderson. No D.J. Chark in that game. On the Chicago side, mostly healthy. The interesting thing there, especially from a betting fantasy perspective, Khalil Herbert is eligible to be activated. I think he's going to be elevated or activated, whatever, for this game. So keep an eye on that. Moving on to Arizona, Kyler is back. Clayton Tune, thank you for your service. Good 58 yards of net offense against Cleveland. It's now Kyler's show. Maybe James Conner as well. His 21-day window has opened. I don't know if he's going to play, but obviously trending that direction. Oh, boy. Cincinnati, Houston, the battle of Ohio State legends. For the Bengals, Jamar still did not practice today, and T. Higgins also limited. So both guys there, not 100% healthy. And the Houston Texans had 23 names on their injury report. Some that were limited, not a lot of big names that did not play or did not practice. But Will Anderson, by far their best pass rusher. And, of course, left tackle Laramie Tunsil, very, very relevant. Running back Damian Pierce, still not practicing, did not play last week. One positive note, though, Derek Stingley, their star young corner, has had his window opened as well. Moving on to Cleveland, Greg Newsome, keep an eye on him. But for the first time in 2 months, Deshaun Watson, not on the report at all. I think he's finally good to go. For the Indianapolis Colts, I think a really, really big one here. Josh Downs with a knee. Did not practice today, trending pretty negatively. Not sure if he's going to play. I think it's meaningful just because The Patriots against Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce, not matchups I like. I think Downs was the guy that probably was going to produce for them in this game. Justin Jefferson is not playing against the Saints. Basically, Kevin O'Connell said it would be aggressive to get him back for this first game. Don't expect him to play. Dallas Goedert, the Eagles tight end, having surgery on his forearm, probably out for a month, it sounds like. That injury was gross. They showed the replay too many times. For the Titans, Sean Murphy-Bunting and Traylon Burks are trending towards, I think, not playing. Burks, obviously, scary situation in that game against Pittsburgh. And then Nicholas Petit-Frere, the tackle, out for a while, maybe the season. So it's Andre Dillard, big free agent splash that got benched a month into his tenure, is back in the fold. Last but not least, in the Washington Commanders, both receivers, Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel, questionable, been missing some time. I would keep an eye on those two guys.
Short list. I have one question around Khalil Herbert because I was looking at tomorrow's game. It sounds like he could be activated. I'm curious if you have any insight on, like, if he is activated, how much has he practiced? They feel he can come in and play.
I think so. It seems like it was an injury where, maybe it was a 3-weeker, but you just had to put him on IR. And they knew they had Deontay Foreman, who was a game day inactive, but then once Roshan Johnson also got concussed, yada, yada. I think this is his backfield when healthy. We'll see. They're going to activate some other players as well. Equinemius St. Brown, probably Josh Blackwell to play in the slot a little bit. But if he plays, I think he's going to get the majority of the workload. But I do also think we are going to see an annoying, from a fantasy standpoint, like it's going to be a rotation, I think, of 3 dudes getting touches in this backfield right now.
Yeah, because Foreman has played well, and the Panthers' defense is porous, 32nd in the league in EPA per play allowed to on the ground. And what I think is interesting is if you watch that Saints game, like, I think the takeaway has got to be, man, we can't put Tyson Bagent in positions to throw the ball too much because of the number of picks he's going to throw. And so let's try and run the hell out of the ball, and they might have success with that. So I kind of like Foreman. It'd be interesting to see what the props come out. I don't see any like rushing or carry props at the moment, but maybe there's an overcompensation towards Herbert. And I would be really interested to look at what that first maybe possession looks like. Because Foreman's played well, I could see them giving him some run and running the hell out of the ball regardless, and both of them getting a ton of run. From that injury report?
I mean, it's a laundry list there. I don't even know what to make of it, but I guess something to just monitor as we get closer to Sunday. Maybe I'll say one thing.
The Chase injury and the Higgins injury, like Chase hurt his back, he came back into the game. It's the same injury that kept him out of practice. It sounds like it's just a rest day.
We did see earlier this year, like Deebo Samuel hurt his ribs in the Giants game, come back, have a huge day, and then miss a bunch of time. So I will say, if Washington both has Samuel and Dotson missing, that can make for some intriguing opportunities, considering how they've had one of the most dispersed target shares. And it might be it's going to have to be Terry McLaurin here if those guys are both out.
You'd think so, and then Byron Pringle and Jameson Crowder are going to go for 600, and never mind. This is now just me ranting about Terry McLaurin.
Byron Pringle was good last week.
Last year or last week?
Last week. He was,
okay, yeah. Last year he was not.
Every time they threw a pass, I was like, oh, is that Dotson? Is that McLaurin? And then whoever was calling the game was like, Byron Pringle again.
Yep.
Our boy Sam Howell working his magic, second in passing yards. That's elevating guys like Byron Pringle, The
100-1 is looking more and more possible with each poor Mahomes performance. Tua didn't look great against the Chiefs. Josh Allen is hurt-ish. That's actually interesting, Brad. We didn't mention Josh Allen. He started running the ball at the end of that game on Sunday, and I'd be very interested to see how they approach games going forward. I feel as though Denver is a live dog this week. They're 7.5-point underdogs, but I don't know that they can afford to not come out and run the ball with Josh Allen because their offense just looks like crap without him. So, he didn't practice, I believe, last Wednesday, but looks like he practiced this week.
Great shout. It was like he averages like 3.7 design runs a game or whatever it is, and he had 0. I think we tweeted that it was like mid third quarter or late third quarter, and then they did run him a couple times because the offense is stagnant without it. No, it's a good point, and I think against Denver in particular, him, but also you got Lombardi Lenny in the fold now. James, like, they have to run at least like 8 times in a game, like just especially against Denver. So yeah, that will be interesting to monitor. I think he's trending positive. Josh Allen, that is.
Beat Gamer 99 asking if the Browns tackles might be a problem. So Wills is out now.
Will's out for a bit here. I think he's kind of been a problem by himself anyway. But yeah, no, it's an issue. It's certainly an issue. Conklin and Wills are both like, Conklin's good. Wills at least has been like around league average, which at tackle is a good thing. I think DeJuan Jones, to the question, I think DeJuan Jones, you keep him at right tackle. I don't see why you'd kick him over. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but he was a right tackle at Ohio State. He's obviously settling in there nicely. I would leave him there, and I'm struggling to think who their next guy up would be. Chris Hubbard's on the Titans now. I don't even know who the fourth tackle is in Cleveland, but yeah, not ideal.
You can find out at pff.com, by the way, and we'll pull it up here when we go to that game. Before we get to that game, or maybe you will want to talk about this game, but I kind of doubt it. Judah, it is time for some SGP narratives. For those of you that are new to the podcast, Judah is not your average SGP creator. You will go on FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever sports book, and you will be bombarded with a bunch of uncorrelated, horrible SGPs. But here we take a different tact. We look for data-driven narratives. By the way, you can place those same data-driven narrative SGPs on FanDuel and DraftKings. We highly recommend that you go and do so. Your SGPs that you've written up on pff.com have an ROI of 121% this year. You also write an article called Leveraging Tails, which follows a lot of the same narratives that you'll talk about on this podcast, in this segment. That's 131% up on the year. Last year, it was also, I think, over 80%. So this is one of my favorite parts of the week, where we talk about the angles that we want to kind of leverage a little bit and put a lot of kind of investment in getting an outsized win on. With that, Judah, I'll turn it over to you. Where do you want to go first?
Yeah, I feel like this kind of week where it's really ugly in most spots is like the perfect kind of SGP week, playing some tails angles. The first spot I'm going to go to is New Orleans against Minnesota. I like the passing game generally. I like New Orleans, and I especially like Chris Olave. But we can talk generally about New Orleans. I think that, right, we talk about quarterback traits all the time and certain spots in quarterbacks who are situation agnostic and those who are less so. I think Derek Carr is almost like a prototype of, like, he's a product of his surroundings almost. And you can kind of see that if you look at his splits when he's under pressure versus not. And this is a quarterback who has an EPA while pressured of negative 0.29, which would be worse than the worst offense in the NFL, and also far worse than league average, versus a guy who, when his pocket is kept clean and he's not under pressure, it's more like 0.23. The Vikings, despite blitzing 60% of the time, which is by far number one in the NFL, are the 5th worst generating pressure. Yes, the New Orleans offensive line struggled. They're also a lot healthier. I mean, like, I don't know who's going to generate pressure for Minnesota. We should see Carr with plenty of time in the pocket, which also allows for him to throw deep, which is he leads the NFL in deep percentage, which is kind of what ties into Chris Olave here, which is a guy who's second in the league in air yards. I think he has not really spiked in recent weeks, but all of the underlying usage remains the same. He is still the preferred. As much as I love Rashid Shaheed, and I'm obviously down for any Rashid Shaheed kind of builds, but the prices are going to come down on Olave, who has not produced yet, despite all of the kind of fundamentals really remaining the same. And if you look at the separation, all the handy that chart that I post every week, he's firmly in the top right of that graph that I'm going to want to be building. This is exactly the sort of spot where Carr has time. He's going up against a defense which can't generate pressure, which is struggling to defend explosive plays. That's sort of the exact spot I want to be building around Carr, and certainly Olave when we can kind of buy low.
I was going to ask you about this one. Are you done? You still going?
Yeah, no, that's.
I was going to ask you about this one because Derek Carr has a top 10 grade for us against the blitz the last 3 seasons. I think it almost forces him to push the ball downfield, which he doesn't do maybe when he has a clean pocket, but I think maybe he feels the impetus to do so when he has to get it out quickly because he's also attacking downfield on this split as well. His big time throw rate is over 7% when blitzed, which is, I would imagine, triple what it is, like in a standard, environment. 7.5 yards per attempt. Like I love that spot.
All signs, I think, pointing, at least on the matchup front, to a good spot for Carr and the Saints. Maybe I'll save the rest of this for the lock of the week, but certainly an SGP that I like here. I guess the next one I'll go to, similar type of angle, which is Will Levis and Tennessee against Tampa Bay. It's only, like the prop right now I see is sitting at like 210, which means we can get some, juicy alts that are not also like requiring a NFL percentile. Like when you're building to 325, 350 yards, those games are exceptionally rare. When you can kind of build to 275 and get the juice of a real alt, I think it's a lot kind of easier to buy that angle. And the spot here is similar type of argument in the little. It's a small sample, sure, but that's kind of the uncertainty that allows us to bet the tails here. That Will Levis is exactly the type of quarterback who is okay avoiding sacks, but still takes far too many. But again, if you keep his pocket clean, he's going to be very aggressive and attack downfield. This is the same angle we just played with Stroud last week. Which is that the Bucs struggle to generate pressure, and their secondary is awful, and teams are attacking vertically against them. And Will Levis is exactly the type of quarterback who's going to attack vertically, and I think we'll have success here. We know he loves to throw to DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to be looking to play the Tennessee alts, the Levis and Tennessee, like something like a Levis 275 or Levis 300, basically saying they build that lead through the pass. Against the Tampa Bay pass funnel, meaning that they are far better defending the run and force teams to pass against them. I haven't checked the updated numbers for last week. It was 5% over expected. I anticipate that number is actually closer to like 7 or 8 now. Tennessee will be throwing. The books are going to be saying that if Tennessee builds a big lead, that is likely meaning that they're going to run the ball, playing something like a Levis, 275, Titans minus 5.5, minus 6.5, and then even building the story through Hopkins will both be appealing builds for me this week.
The Bucks. This was I was waiting for you to talk about this one. This is one of my favorites because of the work that you've done, Judah. I have my own spreadsheet that identifies pass and run funnels, and the Bucks, to your point, are the biggest pass funnel in the league. They're number 1 in EPA allowed on the ground, and number 30 in EPA allowed through the air. And it's interesting. The grade that Levis got last week was, I don't think, fair in the sense that, and maybe someone will clip this and say that I'm going against our grading system. Not true at all. In that it lumps all throws together, right? And he threw, he tried to throw 5 interceptions on the last drive. So we're going to give him, bad grades on those throws. But kind of going up until that point, and until he got to the point where he was kind of throwing for his life on the road on a short week against Pittsburgh, I might add, that has a much better pass rush than the Tampa Bay Bucks. I was impressed with his ability to maneuver the pocket. And you talk about that, Judah, a lot. I think this builds into another narrative, which is, what is consistent about quarterback play under pressure, or, that we do know about their kind of ability to navigate the pocket and that kind of true scrambling ability. I saw some signs of that being decent. Maybe it's not going to be the case long term, but I thought he maneuvered the pocket well and was able to find throws when doing so, which is really important, right? If you can get a target off, that's so much more valuable than if you have to scramble or do whatever, right? If you can get a target off, that's great. And I thought he did a good job on that. I think this is my favorite angle, especially because he loves DeAndre Hopkins. And like, there's no bones about who he's going to throw the ball to. You mentioned Treylon Burks being out, Brad. Hopefully he recovers, but that's just one less person for him to throw the ball to. Our guy Chig Okonkwo, maybe he gets some run here. But I think this is a phenomenal spot would you consider playing, say a Levis plus or over 275, some sort of Hopkins over 100? And then would you do you mentioned like minus 6.5. That's what burned us with Stroud, right? Was he didn't cover that 4.5. Would you play also the money line and maybe ladder the spread?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a fair build. I think there's a difference last week. I think with Houston was like there was almost inherent in the Stroud bet was like Tampa Bay's offense is not going to be able to keep up, and like it won't be a particularly close game. Where I think that I'd be, I don't know, maybe I won't make the same mistake twice. But yes, the general theme of just like layering on money line and spreads definitely works, and it really depends on how they're pricing that correlation. Mm-hmm. My initial thought is like the main piece here is they're going to price the kind of spread and Levis passing yard correlation wrong, and I want to push that out as much as I can within reasonable limits to maximize that edge, because that's like the real value when you're parlaying something, right? It's not just getting the story right. Sure, you can get the story right, but like maybe that's already being priced in. It's when you can kind of find the angle that's not properly correlated and say, it's one thing to have a story. It's another thing to say, actually, this is like fundamentally mispriced and I'm going to keep pushing that edge. That's really, but that it's hard to say without actually knowing the prices. And obviously we don't have the prices as we're recording this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any others for us?
Yeah, just a quick hitter one that I'll definitely be monitoring. And of course you can check back later in the week to see if it ends up materializing. It's going to be Kyler Murray against the Falcons, which again, I'm going to want to be kind of playing this uncertainty. Football players, if they're playing, they're going to be playing at 100%. Kyler Murray certainly knows whether it's for the Cardinals or for some other team. He wants to be sure he has every incentive to play very well. For all the talk about the Cardinals tanking, their revealed preference has not been tanking at all. I mean, like, I guess in theory you can talk about Clayton Tune starting is evidence to the contrary. They're bringing back James Conner off injured reserve. I anticipate they will be playing to win. And I don't know if the markets are going to be pricing that appropriately. And then consider the matchup again. I think the Falcons fall into a very similar bucket to the Bucs of a real pass funnel, especially if Kyler Murray's a little more hesitant to run. And if you're going to use old data to price Kyler Murray's new passing prop, built in there is going to be 7 to 10 scrambles a game. And if that number is 3 to 5, that's 4 or 5 more passing attempts in theory. You could say, okay, the Cardinals aren't playing at as fast a pace. They're still playing at a really fast pace. And it also would not be shocking for them to kind of play it. I just don't know. Like, there's real uncertainty for how to price this prop. That's fundamentally what this is about. And I'm going to want to capture that tails, because like we've seen Kyler Murray put together big offensive performances. This is exactly the matchup in which that would happen. That if we can get like a Kyler prop in like, I don't know, 210, 215, that's something I would love to play the overs there.
I love that one. Big fan. I'm really looking forward to watching this game. I think this is going to be really pretty fascinating. And to your point, I think the Falcons are second in EPA allowed on the ground and like 23rd or 24th or something like that through the air. So it makes a lot of sense. Brad, any thoughts on any other angles? Or are we good to move on?
No, Titans won. We'll circle back on locks, but that is my favorite one. I was hoping that was going to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, it is a very good one. All right, we're going to get to the locks of the week in just a second. But before we do, it is nearing winter in some parts of the world. It's still very sunny here in San Diego, but I digress. It's important, regardless of the weather that you are in during the winter months, that you do not let yourself go. Okay, gentlemen? Don't let yourself go beneath the clothing or outside of the clothing. And that's why Manscaped is here to make sure that you are in great shape no matter what. Okay. So Manscaped, they've got it's brand new. It's Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Ladies and gentlemen, it is fantastic. I've used it. It is tremendous. Every single time they come out with a new model, it gets way better. I can't imagine that I was using the old one. The old one was really good. This one is way better. It just there's no way that you'll get injured with it. 20% off plus free shipping with code PFF. Battery life lasts forever. It's a closer cut. Fantastic stuff. So you will be in great shape. I will also mention this is a really good gift. Okay. So if you're struggling to figure out what to give, I don't know, some random friend or something like that, go to manscaped.com, 20% off with promo code PFF. They also have fantastic products for other parts of the body, including the face. I now use that their beard trimmer. It's phenomenal. I don't have a very complex beard, but if you did, they have a lot of tooling that can help you with that. So could not recommend it enough. Keep yourself in good shape beneath the ugly Christmas sweater that you are sure to be watching very, very soon. Also, our podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. We just discussed a couple of angles around the Saints, the Falcons, to name a couple, and you can go and profit on those takes at Prize Picks. Prize Picks includes not just the NBA, but also, not just the NFL, but also NBA. And you can actually bring those two things together to create your own little kind of special creations at Prize Picks. It's super easy. And you can also play alongside people that are not quite as cool as Brad, Judah, and I. People like Andrew Schultz and Meek Mill. They've got a little ways to go until they're creating narratives like Judah, but they'll get there eventually. And you can find those in the promos tab on Prize Picks. It's a really great product. It's very easy to use. And here's an even better note. You can get a $100 deposit match when you go to prizepicks.com/forecast. And by the way, it's daily fantasy and it's legal in many, many states. So if you're dealing with all of the crap that is legalized betting, this ain't it. Go to prizepicks.com/forecast. Last but not least, our friends at Western and Southern are bringing you an easy and affordable way to get term life insurance. It's through Fabric by Gerber Life. It's super, super simple. It takes you 10 minutes. A lot of things you'd rather spend your time on, like putting your Prize Picks lineup together. You can do that after getting a easy and affordable term life insurance policy in only 10 minutes at meet, MEET, fabric, fabric.com/forecast. Again, that's M2Es, fabric.com/forecast. It's something that if you have a family, you should be thinking about, and this makes it super easy. So go to MEET, fabric.com/forecast. All right. It is time for locks of the week. We had a little bit last couple of weeks, a little bit of a comeback. Okay. We're starting to make the season does not start until Thanksgiving. And so we're getting ourselves primed and ready. Little Cam Akers under somehow cashed. Depending on what you got the Mahomes number at, could have been a really bad beat. Over 26.5 was what we got. He obviously had a couple of kneel downs at the end, or it would have been an absolute cinch. CeeDee Lamb went well over 6.5 catches. Bengals -2 was a lock. Arden Key, I felt like we deserved. Okay, another bad beat. The process is strong, so looking forward to this week. I think it'll be another good one. Let's get into it. Brad, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, so Arden Key came to us last week. Not a great bet. I'll wear it. I think it was just not the best approach there. However, you guys know that I messaged you a couple days later as more props came out with my favorite sack prop of my entire life, and I'm going right back to the well again this week. So last week came out Montez Sweat, now a Chicago Bear. His over under 0.75 sacks was even money basically to both sides. It's one of the craziest lines I've ever seen. And, I did a whole write-up on the website. I won't go through everything again, but go check it out on pff.com. I give it out to the people. It's plus 105 to the under tomorrow. Now, look, the difference here is Bryce Young's pressure to sack rate is about 5 percentage points higher than Derek Carr. And this is a quarterback bet. It really is more than anything else. However, there's still some components that I like. So we talk about the Bears are 29th in blitz rate. They're not going to bring extra bodies to get home. They do stunt at a decently high rate, but nevertheless. And then also Taylor Moton is the best player on this Panthers offensive line. Montez Sweat plays 90% of his snaps over the right tackle. So it's asking him to get a full sack and win one-on-one matchups against a very good pass blocking, right tackle and Taylor Moton. And yeah, Bryce Young is not as good of a quarterback to fade in this scenario than a Derek Carr is. But I go right back to the well. Plus 105 on the under 0.75 sacks for an edge rusher that is outside the top 50 for us in pass rush win rate. I'll take it every time.
Dig it. Judah, what you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with my favorite spread of the week. I think New Orleans -2.5. I gave the reasons why I'm kind of bullish on the matchup side of things, but I think this price looks very different if Josh Dobbs doesn't play hero ball, convert on a bunch of fourth downs, and if the Saints somehow only win by 7 against the Bears, when the fundamentals would seem to suggest that game be a lot larger of a margin. I think it's just the difference in tier for the Vikings, who also just as an aside, the difference in health between these two teams is startling. I mean, New Orleans barely has anyone on the injury report, and Minnesota's down probably. I mean, I don't know what Christian Darrisaw's ultimate status will be, but probably their 3 best players. KJ Osborne's going to be out. Like this roster is dreadful, and like if you're relying on a 95th to 99th percentile performance from Josh Dobbs, that's not exactly going to, I don't think, sustain itself. And especially inside of a field goal, I really like that. But all the matchups I think point to the Saints here, considering all the pressure angles we just mentioned. Minnesota's a really, really bad roster right now. And New Orleans is a massive step up in class, I think, from the Falcons.
Yeah, it's a good point on the Dobbs thing too. Like, he played really, really well in that game. I think we're expecting that with a week of practice, like he's only going to get better. I don't know that the data supports that necessarily, given what we've seen from Josh Dobbs previously. So yeah, I think that's a good call. Good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think it's important to kind of like maintain the base rate here, which is like Derek Carr is somewhere in average. Right at Josh Dobbs' best, he's going to be the 20th best quarterback in the NFL, I think, and that's like probably generous. And like most of the time, he's going to be somewhere between like 27 and 30th best quarterback in the league. Like there's a reason he's a journeyman who keeps getting cut. Like he's not that good. And when we're getting inside of a field goal, it's a huge difference in the NFL to have an average quarterback versus a guy who's been, in the same situation 3 times, starting for a new team on a week's notice because he's expendable. I think that's important to kind of clarify the base rate there.
Sense. Okay, I'm going to go with a little teaser here. So I think there are a couple of things that I like about this first game, and that you mentioned one of them, Josh Downs not playing in that game or likely out in that game against the Patriots. Colts traveling. First time that, as a head coach that Shane Steichen and the Colts are traveling to Germany. I didn't think the Patriots looked amazing last week, but they're not totally inept. Total on this game is 43.5. Honestly, I kind of like the under there. But I like teasing the Patriots out. It's 1.5, getting them out to 7.5. Then for the other leg, I'm going to go to the Arizona Cardinals. So they are right now 1.5 point underdog. I think this is potentially, we could look back on this and go, this is the mispricing of the century. Century might be a little egregious. That was probably Cowboys Niners, but the mispricing of the week at the very least, because how much worse are the Cardinals, pre Kyler Murray? I mean, with Josh Dobbs, I don't know that there's like a huge difference between the great Arthur Smith Falcons, Tyler Algier, Jonnu Smith, Taylor Heineke and company. And now the Cardinals, I think with Kyler Murray, you have the better quarterback getting points. They are 1.5 point underdog, get them out to 7.5. I quite frankly kind of like the Cardinals money line as well. I think this is just, again, to your point, the revealed preference has been that they are competing, and now they get a massive step up in quarterback. As much respect as we can give to Josh Dobbs, but certainly from Clayton Tune. And the Falcons are rolling out with Taylor Heineke here. So I think nice opportunity to get probably the better quarterback in both spots, getting 7.5 points. Both totals 43.5, so they're pretty low, although those are not super low for this season. So it is Cardinals and Patriots teaser. Brad, you're up.
Yep. So one more just kind of approach to tomorrow night's game. For whatever reason, I'm diving into angles to bet this Chicago-Carolina matchup, just trying to make it watchable for the people. Quietly, very, very quietly, and there's a bunch of different ways to play this. The Bears' run defense is a top 3 unit in EPA per play and a top 6 unit in success rate. And so It's going to be tough, I think, for Carolina to consistently run the football in this game. And I think they all are going to look to pass. And they are going to be without DJ Chark. They're going to be without Laviska Shenault. Terrace Marshall basically has been in the doghouse since he asked for a trade and doesn't play all that much. Like, I think you are looking at a funnel of Adam Thielen and rookie Jonathan Mingo. They don't really throw the tight ends all that much. Miles Sanders had a drop on, just an easy check down target last week. So yeah, either Adam Thielen over 6.5 receptions I find interesting, or maybe the under 11.5 rushing attempts for Chuba Hubbard. I just referenced, Sanders dropping a pass. They were going back to more of a balanced split committee approach. I'm not sure either guy is going to get 12 carries in this game. So one of those two, we can kind of talk further on if we like any. And I promise that is my last thought on the Bears-Panthers game tomorrow night.
I love Hubbard. So right now, Hubbard is at 11.5 is what I see his carry total at. And Sanders is at 6.5. I think that is an egregious mispricing. I think that they want to give Sanders the ball. And in last week's game, they were both mid. So I think that will allow them, they're only playing Hubbard over Sanders because they couldn't avoid the fact that he was better. The second that they appear to be somewhat on even footing, and to your point, they should struggle to run the ball in this situation. And they should be, licking their chops in an opportunity to try and give Bryce Young some chance to be decent. So totally agree with that. I love that under 11.5 on Hubbard.
Yeah. I'm going to go with another running back here. It's going to be Christian McCaffrey. We'll go. I like both the receiving yards and the receptions. We have the receiving yards at 30.5. I think I prefer the receptions prop. Though we don't have a number, let's go with the receptions prop. I assume it's going to be somewhere around 4, give or take. And the Jaguars have allowed the most receptions to running backs at 73 this year. I'm not sure if Trent Williams is going to play. I anticipate, especially if he's not playing, that there will be a couple of more kind of dump offs for McCaffrey. But ultimately, he's an engine of this passing offense. He's going to be on the field. This is a game they need to win. I would not be surprised if he plays, assuming he stays healthy, if he plays 100% of the snaps against a team that allows the most receptions to running backs. I'm going to bet that every time.
I like that one quite a bit, especially coming off bye. And I don't know if you guys have been living under a rock, but did such a cool thing. I'm kind of joking here, but his fiance was on her bachelorette party this weekend. And I swear to God, Christian McCaffrey probably did more for this bachelorette party than any human on earth. He had like a private fireworks show for them in Cabo San Lucas, which is really doing the most. I mean, doing the absolute most. So he's feeling good. He's excited to show out. He needs to go pay some bills. So I'm sure he will show up and play well. I'm going with the player prop next as well. I think this is one of the bigger mismatches in the NFL this week, and that is Amon-Ra St. Brown against the great Jasir Taylor. He of a 57.6 PFF coverage grade. Now, there's a couple other things I like about this, and we don't have a number for St. Brown yet, but the Chargers have always been a huge sieve running the football. That has not been the case for them, and we saw that against the Jets. The one thing that we didn't see against the Jets was whether their passing defense had recovered at all. That's a Zach Wilson thing. I'm going to go ahead and bet that has not actually been figured out. And in a situation where the Lions may have to actually pass the ball more because of that, the fact that the Chargers are decent at defending the run, I think opens up the door for St. Brown, and I think he will be the go-to here. Remember, this is a Goff return to glory, return to his home. I think it should be a pretty good ecosystem for Goff to throw the ball with so many Lions fans in attendance. So I'm not super worried about like road Goff, and it's also in a dome. So St. Brown, I'm guessing that his receptions prop is going to be somewhere in the 6.5 to 7.5 range. So depending on where that comes out, I definitely like the receptions, certainly at over 6.5. And then depending where his receiving yards go, I feel like this is just such a great matchup for him, and there will be a little bit of a tendency for them to throw the ball.
Yeah, like that one for sure. That defense, probably good prices too, just because it looked like that defense played well, but really they just played Zach Wilson. So those are two different things. Another prop I referenced earlier that I love that you were all over the Titans. The Buccaneers are 27th in pressure rate, 26th in pass rush win rate. The Steelers are 7th in both of those categories. And like you said, it is a function of the grading. Levis had a 74 passing grade until the last drive, and then 3 turnover-worthy plays on one drive. Is going to drop your grade precipitously. But different angle here. I think it is going to be a massive passing game. You mentioned how good they are against the run. Derrick Henry's rushing yards prop is 71.5 right now. I like the under 71.5 on Derrick Henry. We're seeing him cede more and more work to Tajay Spears on a weekly basis. But also this one is simply just, they are going to throw the football a ton. It is like you said, a pass funnel offense. It wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense to feed King Henry in this one. So the under 71.5 for Derrick Henry.
Nice. I'm going to go with another running back under here. It's Jonathan Taylor, under 70.5 against the New England Patriots. I think Taylor kind of finally pulled away in terms of snap share last week, but I think the market right now is pricing this as, oh, Jonathan Taylor is now the running back one. And I have no idea if that was an aberration or not. The previous 4 weeks, through all the injury noise, it was really a 50-50 split between Moss and Taylor. That's kind of one angle to this. The second is New England is awesome defending the run. I want to say they're second in success rate. They're third in success rate against the rush, 6th in rush EPA. Those numbers have gotten stronger as the season's gone along. For a team that is not going to be certain to be playing from ahead, they're only a 1.5 point favorite. For a guy in a timeshare, a rushing prop at 70.5 feels extremely steep when we usually see guys in the 50s to 60s here.
And that's going to be the area, especially down a receiver, that you would expect the Patriots to try and focus on. Right? The other thing is the Patriots have been very good against the run, to your point. 4th in EPA allowed, 27th in pass EPA. So, makes a lot of sense. My last one is another player prop. This one, we already talked about the Titans. I think DeAndre Hopkins, is the huge focal point of this game. I also kind of like the over, I think 38.5. Now, I know there's supposed to be some light rain. I feel like we're underselling the fact that both these quarterbacks are going to take chances and put the ball up for grabs. And that's going to, I think, could create a decent amount of points, not too dissimilar to what we saw in Tampa Bay or Tampa Bay Houston last week. So I like DeAndre Hopkins overs. He has a great matchup against Dean Isian and the rest of the Carlton Davis, none of whom have graded nearly as well as Hopkins has this season. So I don't know what you think his prop will come out around. Maybe because of the low total, we get something in the 5.5 range. But I think he's clearly Will Levis's number one target. The target share would back that up. And in a situation where we expect Levis to pass more, love Hopkins in that spot.
Yeah, like that one. The final one for me had the same spread last week, was kind of a plug your nose and take it. And that is the Pittsburgh Steelers laying a field goal at home. I think we talked about it. I think someone brought it up. I don't know if we actually I know we didn't make it a lock, but same spread this week. They're laying 3 points at home against the Green Bay Packers. I think fundamentally we view probably the Packers in a more positive light on offense than Pittsburgh. And to a degree, in some metrics, they are. I was messing around today looking at play drive success rate, so just scoring drive rate. When you start from your own 40 or in, the Packers are 1 spot ahead of Pittsburgh. They're 29th, Pittsburgh's 30th. You look at Jordan Love in a clean pocket versus in a when pressured. He is not a top 32 quarterback in the NFL when pressured. He is obviously going to be under siege in this game. And Pickett's actually okay against pressure, at least compared to his base rates of performance. And then lastly, I think the way you take advantage of this Pittsburgh team right now is their secondary is not very talented. But the Packers are 4th in drop rate. They have all these rookie and sophomore receivers that are just not really, on the same page with Jordan Love. He is maybe the worst deep ball passer in the NFL right now, including Kenny Pickett. So anyway, it's like all the advantages that most teams have over Pittsburgh that have us sitting there being like, how did they get away with this? Like Green Bay doesn't even have those in this matchup. So yeah, I like Pittsburgh -3 here.
The Yinzer coming out.
The Yinzer, baby.
When are you making the move? I mean, you're clearly preparing well for the move. When is the move?
Yeah, the 6-3 Pittsburgh Steelers that are not fraudulent at all.
No.
I'm moving in June.
Okay, so you've got some time. Okay, good. You're acclimating well already.
Yeah, I think it's time for picking our locks here.
All right. So the Taylor one I think is really interesting. I also really like the Chuba Hubbard call from you, Brad. Those stuck out to me. I don't know. I can get behind the teaser. I feel like
I'm nixing the teaser.
We're
not teasing. We're not teasing two teams that would be thoroughly unsurprising if they're picking 1 and 2 next in the draft next.
Oh, stop it! You think that there's a chance the Patriots are picking 1 or 2?
Yeah,
they're really bad.
I think that's harsh. It's harsh. I'm on board with that. What else stuck out to me? I think those were the main ones. What about you, Brad?
Go ahead, Judah. You got some conviction. Go ahead.
For sure. That was one I had my eyes on also. The dude just has 100 yards in basically every healthy game this year.
Which one?
Perfect. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah. I love the Amon-Ra shout for sure. Receptions or receiving yards, frankly, either way.
Let's see. What else do we have on the board here?
Should we go back to the sack prop, Will?
Yeah, we gotta get one of these at some point here. Remind me of what the price was on that.
Montez under 0.75 is plus 105, which, like, even if you don't love the entire analysis, that price is just insane. Like, anyway, go look at the article from last week. Everything I wrote about came true.
Yeah, I like that one. I don't know why I thought it was minus 120 also. At plus
I just looked as we were on the show. Let me pull it up while we're hanging. They fluctuate pretty crazy, the sack props.
Oh yeah, look at that.
No, plus 105 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I like that one. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a plus money on an under 0.75 is frankly a good bet in most weeks, even if you're talking Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett. Like it's just a good bet.
Yeah.
What was the number for CMC?
We don't have one yet.
Or what were you thinking it was going to be?
I think it's going to be like either a juiced over, like over 3.5, like minus 130 or something, or like over 4.5, like big plus money.
I do like CMC, and in a game that I don't know, I think there's some thought that the Niners return to their dominance, but I don't know. I'm not sold on the defense. I think maybe that more is being made of Chase Young. I can get behind a little CMC action.
Yeah. I'd even add one more angle here, just that I'm thinking about it now. Like, Jacksonville's been awesome against the run. It would not be surprising for me to see like a couple of plays of like the extension of the run game with like a short pass to McCaffrey, like specifically schemed in addition to like other routes. And like the Niners do love their screens also.
I was about to say exactly that.
Yeah, highest graded receiving grade among all running backs. Okay, so any others before we summarize this?
I think we're good.
Okay, help me remember all these. We got Chuba Hubbard. Chuba
Hubbard under 11.5 carries.
Yep. We have Amon-Ra St. Brown over pending number.
Yep.
We have Christian McCaffrey over pending his number. We think it'll be
That's receptions, right? For McCaffrey.
Yeah, receptions.
Yep. Okay.
We have Montez Sweat under 0.75 sacks. Price again was at plus 105. And am I missing any, or is that a nice 4-pack?
I like that 4-pack.
I think that's it. No spreads for us this week, which I think speaks to the week that we have ahead of us. I'm curious, like, so obviously, Brad, you brought up the Steelers. Do like the Steelers. I think it's an interesting week. Steelers, maybe there's some people out there that need to take the Steelers in Survivor. I don't think it's a terrible week to do that if you're in a tough spot. I think one of my favorite spreads, if I were to bet one, would be Denver plus 7.5 in Buffalo. I just think that Denver has been a dramatically different team over the past few weeks. Defense nowhere near as terrible. I think their defense is also like well suited for this game with Surtain and not a ton of other options for Buffalo. So I don't know. I do like that spread, but not good enough to put in the locks.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I think the reason we don't spreads is because like we had Detroit plus 1.5 on Sunday night. They're now laying a full field goal. Like a lot of the games we loved, those prices are long gone.
Yeah. I feel like at this point, spreads Sunday night, lines move, and then like by the time Sunday or like late in the week rolls around, like play the alts, play the the certain game scripts and SGPs or whatever. That's really where you can kind of get value later in the week.
I do. Yeah, I totally agree. I also still like our commies. All right. That was our podcast. We'll be back Sunday night, as we always are, after Sunday Night Football commences. This has a chance to be a pre-final whistle Sunday night pod, thanks to the Jets and Raiders playing on Sunday night. So you may want to tune in start of the third quarter because we will need to keep our have something to do during that second half. We thank you all for hanging out with us. If you have not joined the Printing Press Discord, make sure you do. The link is in our Twitter bios. We'll see you all on Sunday night. Peace.